What's going on, guys? It's Frito here for your Overwatch. Blizzard just announced Kiriko, the new support being added to Overwatch 2. She's related to the Shimada clan, so similar to Genji and Hanzo, she is very high skill, but in the support category. As a skill shot support, you can think of her similar to Zenyatta, but if he was a dive character. Her primary attack is the Kunai knives, which are a slow projectile but do insane critical hit damage. We got to playtest Kiriko, and I'm allowed to give you my thoughts on the character, but I'm sure the devs would prefer us to talk about this in broad strokes because, of course, with any hero, the balancing takes a bit to get ironed out. The build we played on had triple headshot damage, but even at a LAN filled with Overwatch streamers, I think most of us agreed the primary fire was really hard to hit. So while you might be able to farm up a tank's head, you'll have to hit a lot of shots to melt them. And let's face it, Discord melts tanks just by applying it, right? So it's on a similar power level to Discord, I'd say. Her strongest ability to me is her Swift Step, which teleports you directly through an ally through walls. Now this targets, and the logic you might use for it is similar to using Mercy's Guardian Angel, but it's got quite a long distance, again at the moment, and is pretty instant. And since her attacks are easier to hit at closer range, I suspect there'll be two playstyles Kiriko likes a lot, really offensive or really defensive. If your Winston dives in, puts a bubble down, you jump in, deal damage with him, you'll be safe, and maybe softening something up with one big headshot means he can finish it off for you. It's the speed of that dive that I think is really hard to predict and see coming. It reminds me of like a super aggressive Reaper flank into the enemy's backline with Shadow Step, but this comes way faster and you can attack immediately. And of course you can use it to escape as well. And this ability, along with the rest of Kiriko's kit, I would say all requires skill because it's pretty difficult to know what's going on in a battle across the map through walls, right? You might be teleporting into death if you're not so aware of the battlefield, which is the same that I would say about her most controversial ability, the Protection Suzu, which reads, upon impact, allies in the area become briefly invulnerable and are cleansed of most negative effects. In the gameplay trailer, it shows a team playing together in a death ball. But not only do I think that's a very hard way to play Overwatch 2 like, I also think it's not what Kiriko's best at. The Protection Suzu is not like a Batiste lamp in that Batiste lamp you throw and everyone can kind of huddle around it around a corner. The Suzu you have to time pretty much perfectly. So while yes, invulnerability saves you from a whole lot of things, since the rest of her kit is so skill and timing based, it's not for free. And you might even find it challenging to get any good use out of it with a lot of off angles and mixed skirmishing going on in Overwatch 2. Super high potential, but in comparison to a lot of other support kit, it's one of the more skillful abilities, I'd say. Now, it gets terrifying to think about playing around a Batiste lamp and then also having a Protection Suzu to wraith your team out again. There's a lot of defense now you can stack with like two lamp-esque abilities that you could put together, but I'm not so convinced that would be the best way to play, as I don't know if you can get away with a Death Ball comp in Overwatch 2 without Lucio, but these are questions we will ask when we can finally test out the game in public. Now, we talked about her insane damage, her movement, and her big play. Most mundane of her kit is her healing. It's called Healing Ofuda, if I'm saying that right. It channels a burst of healing talismans that can seek targeted allies. Now, this is what they're calling a soft lock. So it's pretty easy to aim, and it gives you some pretty cool feedback when you're missing. It changes colors. But the healing output is going to feel similar to the likes of a Zenyatta orb, and very importantly, you'll notice she's throwing these cards out and not multitasking on something else. Zen gives you an orb and can shoot himself. So choosing between healing or damaging is quite a trade-off for Kiriko. And that's all the healing she's got, right? So this is not a death ball healer necessarily. She's a big playmaker and is going to take some serious mastery to do anything with, I feel like. So I have no fear that she's going to break the game for most players, but if you master her, you can dominate, that's for sure. The skill ceiling is immense on Kiriko. She also passively can run up walls, which is unimpressive to me considering she can teleport through walls anyway. It's mainly just to remind you that she is part of the Shimada lore section of the Overwatch universe, I feel. But also just another way she can roll up on your backline and take your lunch money. You are not ready for the time to kill of her daggers, okay? No matter where they balance it at, that, it seems like it's going to have some shocking potential, I feel. Like, we're used to Zen being able to charge up a one-hit kill. Kiriko being able to flippantly whip out 2 daggers to your dome. That's going to blow you away. Now, statistically, I think her ultimate might be the most obviously OP thing about her kit. Kitsune Rush summons a fox spirit that rushes forward, accelerating the movement, attack speed, and cooldowns of allies that follow its path. Okay, so you get your team to run through this. The build we played on had a bit of a lingering effect, so you can leave the area for just a bit, maintaining all of these extra buffs. And as you can imagine, this super buffs everybody. The things that I want you to think about being really comboable with Kitsune Rush are characters that are weapon focused, because having increased fire rate is one of the most easily observable damage breakpoint destroying type buffs. So even something simple like Soldier 76 getting amped up by this, well, he's moving faster, so his sprint is even better and increased fire rate. I think he's maybe one of the more ideal options, as opposed to, let's say, a Widowmaker running through. Well, you got to kind of land headshots anyway, right? I'd say somewhere in between a medium or close range character will benefit the most, but the enemy will want to dodge this massive engage because it's so powerful that, like, think of it like this. You know when a Batiste window gets erected in the team fight and everyone on the enemy team just sort of falls over? This is a similar level of power, but I actually think way more, because a character like Reinhardt, if you can close the distance inside its effect, is going to be swinging faster and running faster at you. Okay, it's going to depend how players are able to outplay this, but the pure statistics of this and the potential and the new things that it's adjusting that never got adjusted before, this could be the best ult in the game. Ryan getting this as a move speed, attack speed, cooldown reduction. Imagine giving him Nano and Kitsune Rush. I mean, he's just going to run through the whole team. And of course, when you deal more damage in Overwatch, you get your ult faster. So basically comboing this with anything is insane. And the fact that it goes on your whole team is even more impressive. It's this kind of ultimate that sets Overwatch firmly in the, this is a game about making plays aggressively. Go in. You have to go forward to use this. And I think that's a really cool thing for the game overall. Now I'll give some overall thoughts about Kiriko and our playtest with her. I think a thing that you realize when you play Overwatch 2 is just how easy it is for the, let's say, standard base play of Overwatch 2 to be kind of spread out and skirmishy. Although deathballing and working together is very doable, it kind of requires everybody to hold their own and make sure you mark the right things and do the right teamwork. Teamwork in Overwatch 2 is still incredibly powerful, but it's not like you just sort of set the team players in their positions and they kind of hold their ground regardless, like you did with 2 tanks in Overwatch 1. So because of that, I don't think you're going to find it as easy as you think to play super defensive with Kiriko and Bap, because the truth is, in a prolonged fight, Kiriko's pretty bad healing starts to reveal itself. Like, she's a character whose playstyle, I think, necessitates getting some picks with her damage. She's just not really built to sustain a death ball in any way, in my opinion. Now, if Bap's healing is enough to do that himself, I just don't know how you're going to get around, right? If they go like, let's say, Wrecking Ball and crossfire and flank and skirmish around you, if they have mobility to dodge your invulnerability, you're just sort of surviving a bit longer and then they'll eventually win. Overwatch is a game often about cooldown exchanges, and if they use some mobility to get out your big play and you don't get anything out of it, I think you just eventually lose. But okay, that's some theory. It would be a lot easier to show you this when I can actually show you gameplay. For the average player, I'd say Kiriko's the type of hero that you aspire to learn. Sort of like Genji. Very popular, but not a lot of players are actually good at them, right? And overall, it's a good thing for Overwatch, but specifically Overwatch 2, where it's more of a game where it invites you to learn how you want to play the game, not force you to be beholden to the team comp strategy of what your team needs to be doing just for you to function. Kiriko's kind of the no excuses type support, because all of the agency is in your hands. Almost nothing requires your team to do anything except maybe split up a little bit, which they will do normally. You navigate the battle. You need to land your shots. And if you've got the game sense to save a teammate from a big play ability and set up the ult that just allows them to WM1 to destroy the enemy team, if you've got all those timings, this is like the biggest carry support you could ever imagine. It's like if Zen could blink around the map. Kiriko's got everything you could want and more. An absolutely beautifully designed hero. Even just aesthetically, her hero model, you can tell, has some mix of a hybrid between traditional Japanese clothing with some modern twists, which is a cool thing for the character, but also maybe a bit of a nod towards Overwatch 2's gameplay, where, yeah, we're going to keep the things that we thought were great about Overwatch 1, but Overwatch 2 is about getting in there and making plays and making cool things happen, not playing hide and seek behind protection abilities. Let me know your thoughts on Kiriko in the comment section down below. Be sure to check out our upcoming video where we'll go into depth on the battle pass system and the monetization and review how Blizzard is planning all that out. To make sure you don't miss that video and our upcoming ones on Overwatch 2, click subscribe and click the bell icon to actually get notified when our videos come out. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. We'll see you guys next time.